We start out in this project by creating the navigation. So this is the very top bar with the company name and the menu with a drop down for language selection. We can see that for medium and small device sizes, the menu at the right side disappears and we see this burger icon. This toggles the left sidebar with the same menu items, except we haven't included a language selector for the sidebar, but it is possible if you prefer to do so. Alright, let's get started. Inside of our code editor, we start with creating a nav tag with the class row. Inside of this, we'll define a column with the call class, and it will be 12 columns wide on small devices and up, so that means 100% width at all times. So this is to wrap around our nav bar. Then we'll create a div tag with the class nav wrapper, like so. Inside of this, we'll first create our brand logo, which in this example is just some text, our company name. This will be a link that will lead to the home page, the current page, and we need to give it the class brand logo. The text will be company, and we'll close the anchor tag again. Now we'll create the hamburger icon that will appear for small and medium devices to trigger the sidebar. So we add an anchor tag. The value can be anything. We'll choose this value. The classes will be side nav trigger and right to position it in the right side of the top bar. Then we'll add a data target attribute with the value being navbar side nav. This will refer to an ID that we're going to create later on. Then we'll add the icon itself, an I tag with the class Material Icons, and the text menu. This will be the menu icon. We'll close the anchor tag again. Now we'll create the right hand side menu. It will get the classes right to float it to the right side, and the class height on mid and down to hide it for medium devices and down. Inside of this, we can now create our first list item, and inside of this an anchor tag that will lead to the index page, and the text will be home. We'll close the anchor tag again. Now let's copy and paste this 4 times and update the values to services and about, team, and contact, like so. We'll also mark the first one as the current active one, so we add the class active to that one. And after the last item, we'll create an item that will be the trigger for a drop-down menu. So we don't need to put in a specific value for the href attribute. The class will be drop-down trigger. The data target attribute will be navbar drop-down. So this is similar to what we did up here. We're going to create a component later on with an ID that matches this navbar drop-down. Then we'll add the text language and an icon using the I tag with the class Material Icons, and also the class right to float it to the right side. The icon will be arrow drop down, and remember that you should use underscores in between these words. We close the I tag again, and we close the anchor tag again, and we close the list item, like so. Now let's save this, go back, select the right tab and refresh. Now everything looks right. We can even see that our hamburger icon will appear for medium devices and down, but nothing is interactive yet. we need to add some more markup and we need to add some JavaScript. We'll do that right now. First, let's create the drop-down markup. So we'll create an unordered list, and we'll do that down here. After our nav element, we'll give it the ID navbar dropdown, which we were referring to before, and we'll give it the class dropdown content, like so. Inside of this, we'll add a list item and then an anchor tag, and this will just be a URL that you can decide. Here, for example, we'll write companyname.com/language. The text will be language, and we'll close the anchor tag again. Copy and paste this a few times. Before we initialize this with JavaScript, let's create the sidebar as well. So using another URL tag, this time with the ID navbar sidenav and the class sidenav. Inside of this, we create our first list item. Actually, let's copy these list items from up here and paste them in. Indented like so. We can see we are still using the active one for the first item, which is home, and then we have all of the rest. Same markup as before, same list items. Now, let's create the custom JavaScript to initialize the dropdown and the sidebar. First, the dropdown, we create a dropdown element variable, and we then get all elements on page with the class dropdown trigger. There's in fact only one element. Then we create a variable for some options, which is simply hover true. So it will open when we hover above it. Then we create the dropdown instance, which is m.dropdown.init, and then brackets, and then our dropdown element, comma, and our dropdown options, like so. We'll do something similar for our side nav. So we create a variable for the element, and we'll get that by getting the element with the class sidenav. And then we'll create the instance like so, m.sidenav.init, and pass in the element variable like so. You can of course decide what you want to call your variables. You might get confused since I called this, the first one, dropdown instance, and the next one, instance sidenav. So I wasn't really being consequent when I wrote this, but it still works. Anyway, let's save, go back to the browser and refresh. Now we can see that our dropdown works on hover, and we can see that we can toggle the sidebar and close it again like so. So this was the navigation section.